Hey guys, welcome back to the Gut Girls podcast. I am smiling ear to ear because today's episode is so special to us. Guys, we are celebrating 1 year of the Gut Girls podcast.
Yay!
I mean, it's a big one. I think when we originally set out to do the podcast, we were just eager about getting good quality information out there and connecting with as many people as we possibly can. So it's kind of hard to kind of think like we've been doing this now for a solid year. And honestly, it hasn't gotten boring. It hasn't gotten like for us, we look forward to recording these podcasts so much and like answering your questions. That's really what it's become, right, Diana? Is like you guys are reaching out to us. We could have only honestly kept it going for this long, and we hope many more years, but we could only have kept it going because you guys literally are so good at emailing us, or members of ours that are actually in our weekly live community meetings. You are asking the questions. You guys are so hungry for good quality information, and we are so thankful for that, and we're thankful that we get to be a source of that information for you. So thank you, and all we can ask, I'll say it now before I forget, is keep listening, subscribe to our podcast, share it with as many people. That's all we could ask from you, so that we could help thousands more women as we continue this podcast. So let's dive into what we really want to share today. Is we want to share, after 1 year later of doing this, what happens when women start listening to their bodies. So we are not necessarily going to be educating you, but we are going to be sharing in some of the most richest transformations that we have been so blessed to share and be a part of over this past year. And I think a lot of these are going to hit home for a lot of you listeners. And so where I want to start is where Gut Girl started. I know you guys have heard her story, but we would not be here today if Gut Girls did not start with Diana's transformation. So Diana, start us off there.
Before I even start, for those of you that have been following us for a while, and maybe you've been following me for a while, you might be like, gosh, I've heard Diana's story a lot. But some of our listeners are fairly new. And so I'm going to just do a little bit of a recap, but then stick with us, or if you've already heard my story, fast forward it a little bit is fine. And you can get to, I want to make sure that you know that you hear some of these incredible stories and transformations from lots of different women coming to us at all different ages with lots and lots of different symptoms, some of them similar to mine, but many of them not. And so we're going to talk about some of those symptoms and how different they are from one another, and how so much of it has come back to what we do here in the Gut Girls, and how all of them were able to transform no matter what those symptoms were. And so I do want to share with you, if for those of you that are listening for kind of the first time, or at least just at the beginning, we did start Gut Girls because of my transformation story. And I'm forever grateful for the symptoms that I had. And that sounds so crazy to say it now, because I can think back to some of those moments where I felt horrible. I was Googling my symptoms. I couldn't get out of bed some days. My goodness, I had a headache every day. And I don't know if you've ever just like woken up every day and had a headache, and then you go to sleep and you're like, oh my gosh, please let me not have a headache the next day. And then you wake up and you feel the same way again, maybe worse. And it just starts to compound into, then you're talking about fatigue, and then you're talking about constipation, and then you're talking about the joint pain, my hips. I can remember Todd, I would lay in bed and I would try to lift up from one side to the other for him to put heating pads and wrap them around my hips, just to give me a little bit of relief so that I could sleep at night. And guys, so when I tell you that we built Gut Girls, it's because of all of those symptoms. My body was telling me something. It was like, Diana, listen up. You have some work to do. And so I went through what I call the cycle of trial and error. I went from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, and literally never getting an answer that made me feel any better. I mean, I tried creams for my skin rashes. I was doing laxatives and enemas and stool softeners for my constipation. I was taking ibuprofen. Like, y'all, I can't even tell you, almost every single week that I was going to the grocery store, I was buying a bottle of ibuprofen. So I can't even imagine what I was doing to my body during those times, but I was desperate trying to find what could work for me, right? And so I'm so thankful that my body was telling me that, and I'm thankful for my friend that led me to you, and I ended up talking to you. And I remember just crying one night being like, wait, she's providing me a little bit of hope, and she's not saying it's going to be a quick fix. She told me from the beginning that it is going to be work, that I'm going to have to kind of change some things. I'm going to have to change my diet. I'm going to have to, work on my nervous system. I'm going to have to kind of do all these things to really heal. And I'm just so grateful that I did that. Back in 2017 is when I did my very first GI map test with Angela, and that personalized plan that you kind of put together for me for what was going inside my gut, along with all the foundational tools that you taught me, the nutrition and everything, really changed my life. And within just a few months, I was really beginning to feel better. And a year later, my life totally changed. I swapped jobs, and I decided that I needed to share my story. So I told as many people as I could about my transformation and began to try to share and educate. And I'm so thankful again that I did, because now it's grown into this Gut Girls membership where I get to be on this side and help women just like myself. So when they come to me with their symptoms, again, maybe sometimes they're similar, but a lot of times, it's something totally different. But I'm like, hey, we're going to help support you along the way, and we're going to look at like what the root is and address that, and then and support you as you go throughout your own wellness journey. And so again, here we are with the Gut Girls. The podcast is a whole year old. It was a dream of mine that we do this podcast, and so I drug Angela along, and I'm like, hey, guess what, we're doing a podcast now. And so I love being able to share my story still, even though it's been 9 years or whatever since that story. But I love being able to do that. And now what's so cool, and Angela, I want you to jump right in with the next story. And this is some of the ones that have just continued to give us that hope to keep pressing on. We know that God has a plan for Gut Girls and for this membership and this community of amazing women.
Yeah. And honestly, Dana, I've heard your story so many times, and it never gets old, because it reminds me so much of what happens when you see courageous individuals that are like, no, I'm worthy of healing, and I'm not going to settle for the answer that isn't getting me to where I want to be. And so that's what you're about to hear. And so our next one is, oh gosh, this is a really dear one to me, because I'm in the younger, I'd say, season of parenting. I've got a 2.5 and a 6.5-year-old. So I very freshly remember having the baby years, when your baby is just starting to eat foods. And gosh, when it's your first, you're just like, what am I doing? And so I remember this mom that came to us, and her newborn, well, at this point was about, maybe 6 months old when babies start eating solids. And this poor boy just was reacting to everything. I'm talking like every single food. And how scary is it as a mom when you're like, my baby needs to eat to survive, and everything I feed them is just, to the point where, like, how even babies at that age they'll reach to like claw at their skin and their face, because they feel that it is so uncomfortable. And her sweet baby boy was just so covered in rashes and hives, and she was at a breaking point. This actually wasn't her first child. This was her third. And she was just like managing these other two, and then trying to keep, this one alive and well. And she came to us and was just like lost. I mean, truly lost, kind of like your story, Dana, just lost. I remember her saying, like, do I go to the allergist? Gosh, I don't know what they're gonna do for my child. At that point as a mom, you're like worried that, are we gonna have to do allergy shots on a young baby, or are we gonna have to like do all of these immunosuppressant creams on a 6-month-old? I mean, she was in fear. And we felt that fear. And so what was really cool, it was an amazing transformation story of just teaching her the basics again, like, okay, really getting down to the bottom of this sweet baby boy who suffered honestly from birth trauma. And that was hard, guys. If you're a mom that has experienced a hard birth, I mean, it can really carry into how you mother, and your child can feel it. And so to be able to, I think it was healing for her and her son to recognize and be able to share the birth story, and then go back and say, okay, this wasn't something I caused, but this is something now I get to heal. And so she went to like just the most basic foods of, gosh, I mean, I remember her calling me making bone broth gummies, like literally her homemade gummies that she was just adamant about, I'm gonna feed this baby as clean as possible. I remember telling her about Adeline, my daughter, as a baby, eating sardines as one of her first foods. And this mom was so courageous to be like, I'll do whatever it takes. And Dinah, that was you. I remember talking to you and your story, and you were like, I'll do whatever it takes. And as she started feeding her baby some of these rich, nutrient dense foods, high in healthy fats, because think about it, fats heal the skin, right? Gosh, she was seeing huge transformations. I mean, the skin rash was slowly disappearing. Every day was getting better. Think about, she was able to give her child a bath. I mean, the simplest thing, like when your child is covered in rashes, to keep them clean. Like I can't even give my sweet child a bath because it aggravates them. And so she was able to give her child a bath again without having that stress. The child was able to sleep without waking up in pain. I mean, this was a true transformation story. And I remember we talked about, there's a book out there, which I'll share with you guys, called, I think it's like Super Nutrition for Babies. And if you are struggling, I will give you that one tip today with your infant baby. Go get that book, because it really teaches what we teach of the true foundational foods that will heal the baby's gut from inside out. And what an amazing story. I mean, that was one that definitely touched my heart when it came to like helping the whole family heal, in all honesty.
I love that. And I'm about to go into another transformation story, but I wanted to make sure, and can you say the book again one more time?
Yeah, it's Super Nutrition for Babies.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. You said it kind of fast, so I wanted to make sure if somebody was like, oh, what did she say? That's what she said. So, okay, we're going to kind of switch gears into one of our clients. Her name is Betty. I'm going to use her name because, my goodness, she let us do a whole video on her. But Betty had struggled with chronic UTIs for 10 years. Guys, she went entire decade feeling that feeling, if you've ever had a urinary tract infection. And so she would literally, I remember her coming to me, and she brought her journal. She had this huge journal that she kept up with everything. She was very organized. And I remember her specifically writing on there, she would write UTI and highlight it in yellow. And so as she flipped through these pages, we were seeing, every 3 weeks, she was going to the doctor with a UTI. And so every single time they were giving her some sort of antibiotic or some sort of cream or some sort of something for 10 years.
Wow.
Her story is just amazing. And so when I talked to her a little bit about, UTIs and the gut connection, and she's like, hey, listen, you tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. She's kind of like this mom, and she's like, I was, when you get to that point of desperation, sometimes people are just like, I am all in. And I love that she was all in. She did an incredible transformation, and she went an entire year without a urinary tract infection.
I'm celebrating. Yeah.
I see you clapping, because guys, can you imagine going through that? It gives me goosebumps, honestly, to make And this has been a while. It's continuing on to where she's not having those urinary tract infections. And so, and running that GI map test for her, just like you did for this baby, was really able to, give her personalized plan, what was going inside the gut. Like, this was being, some of this bacteria was just really kind of engrossed in yeast.
Yeah, and I remember one specifically with her with Citrobacter. I mean, her levels of Citrobacter were through the roof. And guys, in research, that is linked to chronic UTIs.
I mean, it's amazing, like just being able to be able to actually, after all those tests, all those urine tests, everything that she's tried, the blood work, all the stuff.
Botox. I think she was getting Botox at one point.
She was doing Botox. Yeah. And so now, it's so awesome that she was able to use that GI map test as a tool, and we were able to help her and support her throughout her journey. And she's just doing fantastic. And can you imagine the freedom from not having to, even just not having to be like, oh gosh, I got to go to the doctor again. Nothing against doctors, but who wants to go sit in the doctor's office again, right? So that was a really cool story. And Angela, I want you to share this next one.
Oh gosh, this next one is, it makes me smile because we have this sweet older lady who we actually have before and afters. I mean, I wish we could pull it up. I mean, they're amazing, but such a sweet lady who came to us with just, as she was aging, she was just in distress about her hair. I mean, and it was difficult. I mean, when you look at the before and after, you're like, wow, it was significant hair loss for her. And so, it was amazing that she had a great support, a community support. Like, her family was amazing. So I think of them working as a team for this. This was something, like, again, we've said before in past podcasts, you can't heal in isolation. Like, this took, her husband, her daughter to really help her, kind of do what we were asking. And gosh, the difference in her hair is amazing. And so hair is often a reflection of what's happening beneath the surface. I know this was your story too. You had significant hair loss, but typically, I mean, it goes back to inflammation. It goes back to nutrient status. It goes back to stress, digestion, hormone balance, right? And so when you get to what I remember doing her GI map, and I remember she was depleted. I mean, this was an older lady, and who knows the many hats that she's carried in her life and what she's been through, but she was so depleted. And she was again, you'll notice this theme with all the transformations we talk about. She was desperate. So she would do whatever we asked of her. And she started at the foundation, working with her nutrition, supplementing where she couldn't hit the nutrition. And she was so great because, her life was full of love and joy. And so to give this woman who is older in her age, that's living her best life with her husband, I think of those two couples, and to give her hair growth back meant the world to her. And I'm telling you, those before and afters are just outstanding. And so that was such an amazing story for us, I think, because it took a while. It wasn't overnight. And in fact, in addition to the nutrition, and in addition to just some lifestyle changes and supplementation, I mean, she went all into even doing like red lamp therapy on the scalp. I mean, that's the beauty of doing this in community. We researched it hard. I mean, I remember those conversations with her, and she wanted it faster like everyone else. And so as we talked on the phone, I was like, here's an option. It's not necessary, but here's another option we could add to your journey. And she was like, I'm doing it. I mean, she went all in, and oh gosh, that full head of hair. I hope I have a full head of hair like that when I'm her age, to be honest. It was amazing.
Something that you didn't even mention, the difference in her before and afters as well, is her coloring. I mean, she was pale, and man, I mean, the difference in the way her eyes lit up, her coloring on her face, and even like down through her neck, you could tell she just had so much more life about it. And I love that she allowed her granddaughter to be able to take these pictures, and she was like, share them with everybody, tell everybody. And so I love that she did that, because she really does believe that once she kind of got to the root and started addressing what was going on behind that hair loss, and not trying all the just like these one quick fixes, it took all the things to pull it all together for her.
Yeah, because I remember when she came to us, I mean, she had tried some of the quick fixes for sure, and she just wasn't getting there. So she was really frustrated. So I'm glad to celebrate her today on our 1 year as well. And then Diana, let's go to this next one, which is going to hit home for a lot of people.
She literally says, my rheumatoid arthritis has gone into remission. And guys, if you have ever had anybody with an autoimmune disease that experiences flares, to say something like that is such a powerful thing to say. And I'm so thankful to Sarah, because she's been such an inspiration, not only to me and you, but so many other women in our community. And now does everybody's autoimmune disease go into remission? Not necessarily. We're not guaranteeing anything, but Sarah had a powerful transformation. And I just am so proud of her and how she's really embraced kind of these lifestyle changes. And Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's one of the ones that came to us on some of our recent podcasts. We talked a little bit about, people come to us and say, I can only eat a certain number of foods. And so tell us a little bit more about that.
She had a huge fear of food. I mean, it was debilitating for her. It was like 5 to 10 foods that she could cycle through for years because it threw her RA into a flare. And so she had this huge fear around food. And I mean, she remember that first conversation? I mean, she could fit all that she ate on like a piece of a journal paper. She's like, this is all I can eat. And so it took a while to get her, to feel like, guys, imagine living like that for years. And then it took a while to change that mindset about food is medicine. And so it was really great for her to walk through from fear to living proof that food is medicine. And if you would talk to her now, gosh, she has the most diverse diet. It is rich in color and endless ingredients. I don't honestly think Sarah at this point has anything that she restricts. I mean, it's a beautiful transformation story. And that's the beauty. Her RA didn't just go in remission temporarily while she was healing the gut. She's been working with us for years, and it's still in remission, and she's brought her diet back to this complete diverse diet. So, and I remember walking, gosh, she was early on in our Gut Girls business, but I remember just walking the streets of the sidewalk one day talking with her, and she would journal. So one thing that I love about her transformation story, she got to know her body inside and out. She journaled everything we asked of her. And when I got on those conversations, I would just walk in the sunlight up and down, and she'd read through with me her journals. And it was so amazing because we got to play detective together. I remember one conversation, I was like, okay, Sarah, you had a flare, and that morning for breakfast, it was like eggs and something else. And we saw this repetition. And so she was like, yeah, I noticed that too. And I was thinking that could be a part of this. And I was almost like celebrating in that moment, because I was like, yes, you just became your own doctor all of a sudden. I have goosebumps saying that, but isn't that empowering for any of you guys listening to have that tool to be like, oh my gosh, I can figure this out on my own. I don't have to be seeking all these other opinions and doing what everyone else is doing. It's proof in my journal. So her transformation story, it gets me every time.
So good. So good. And do you know, for those of you, I know a lot of people, I was actually with my best friend yesterday. She was taking me to take a car to get work done. And I hopped in her car and I came over the loudspeaker. She was listening to the podcast as we were driving around. And so, after a year of doing this, it's interesting, that I've kind of shifted and changed and, done different things. And so sometimes people are just listening, but if you're actually watching, you can see that I'm actually working on a different kind of background here in my office. Now that I'm working from home really 100% of the time, I kind of wanted to have a space that was set up, and, I felt like I was on the fly all the time in another space. And so I've redone this space, but as you were talking to Sarah about her journaling, something I haven't told you yet, right there, I don't know if you can see it, but right here in this back corner, kind of where I'm pointing to, that is my journal.
Yes.
That's my journal from 2017.
Oh,
And I put it right there on purpose because I love to look back at it and think about how far I've come from that moment, and also how important it is for our listeners, for our clients. If there's anything that we've learned over this last year, Angela, I feel like that it's the symptoms that people are experiencing is a communication tool. It's your body telling you something is wrong, and how do we make it better, right? How do we address that root problem? So that's really kind of the things that I feel like I've picked up on over, I mean, not just the last year of the podcast. Of course, like that's one of the big things that we've kind of talked about through the podcast is listening to your body, but it's the years of, and the thousands of women and clients that we worked with over the years. It's like, hey, your body is telling you something. Let's work together to figure out how to address it.
yeah, in the podcast and in the years of doing this with you, Diana, it's interesting because when you have a consultation, any of us with a client, they don't necessarily want to talk about their food. They want to talk about what, like their life. You know what I mean? They want to tell us like the fears, the the stressors, like it's so much richer when you listen to somebody's story and you get to like see the big picture, and then you get to educate them through what we do with all of what you said in the very beginning. So I'm bringing the podcast almost all the way around. All of those fears, all of those restrictions, those were all telling you something. I mean, they really were. And so the beauty of a transformation for us has become like what they came to us with in the beginning, which is what you did, you're thankful, what you came to me with in the beginning, actually you can turn around that journal that you have, and it's now it's a place of gratitude. It's being grateful for what you were handed earlier in life. And so wow, like that. So guys, it is way more than just food here at the Gut Girls. And so I just love that. And I love that we got to share some of these stories that you if you haven't been in our community or on our website, you may not know about these transformations. And so I'm glad that we're taking the time to do that with our podcast this anniversary year.
Yeah, I love that. I love that this is kind of how we're doing the 1 year, is like celebrating some of those testimonials. There are a couple more on our website, gutgirls.health. And so but I do want to tell you, to the woman that's listening, as we leave today's podcast, maybe you're driving down the road, maybe you're folding laundry, and maybe you're already a client, you're already in our membership, or maybe you're a brand new listener. We would love for you to share this with somebody that may be experiencing a symptom. We tend to tell each other like, hey, yeah, or, see on Facebook, somebody's experiencing this or experiencing that. Please share this podcast with them, share our website with them, and invite them into this community with us, because we would love to walk alongside them in their wellness journey.
Yeah. So thank you guys for celebrating with us. We hope to do this a year again from now and have even more transformation stories. And so, yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your support and your love. And we hope to see you on the next podcast.
The Gut Girls podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We are not acting as licensed medical professionals. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your health routine.